Hey everybody, welcome to TIW Podcast. I'm Eric, and today I watched Survivor Winners at War Episode 7, which was broadcast on March 25th, 2020. Spoilers ahoy! If you haven't seen this episode yet and don't want to find out what happens, then stop watching or listening or however you're experiencing this episode, and go watch the show now. I really enjoyed this episode. We got, excuse me, I've got about to sneeze. Got a little bit of I think some dust in my nostril or something. Anyway, I'm probably going to sneeze by the end of this recording. But I'm live streaming, can't stop, won't stop. I'm just going to keep powering through until I sneeze, which is coming even sooner than I thought. Here it comes. Nope, we're okay. Maybe? All right. Anyway, so we open up with Edge of Extinction with Parvati having arrived, and that she explains everything that happened with her, and then they're all kind of giving crap to Sandra, like, "What? Why did you do that? Why did you give her an idol, etc." And Sandra ends up leaving Edge of Extinction because she's not good at challenges. She knows that, and she thinks it's just a waste of time to be wasting away at Edge of Extinction and hoping to get back into the game with some type of challenge. So probably a good call. Also, I mean, she can just relax without anybody bothering her for probably a long time. Like she's at what do they call it? The place where they go. It's like purgatory. It's like purgatory, but it's not that. It's what do they call it? Why can't I remember what they call it? They do a whole series of it once the jury happens, because the entire jury stays there. But the people who pre-jury, they all stay there as well until everybody else comes, and then they go off and do something else. But this season, everybody's on the jury. But everybody except Sandra is on Edge of Extinction, so she's the only one who's... Oh, what is it called? It is called... What is it? It's... Survivor... Where does the jury stay? Ponderosa. That's what it is. It's kind of... It's partially a pun. That's where they ponder what they did wrong. So anyway, yeah, Sandra's out, completely out. I don't know. So I participate in a fantasy league. I didn't talk about the results from last week because they hadn't updated on the site yet, because I streamed shortly after the show concluded. And the same is the case right now, unless I go there and see if they've updated it already, if they do it by the East Coast time. They did update it already. So how many points did I get? I got, oh man, I only got 3 points for this episode. The next week's episode is going to be also pretty bleak, but let's see, how did I do compared to the group? I'm still sitting in the number one spot. But I've got second and third place, which is actually tied for second. They are 1 point behind me. So, man, that's... lots of people had potential to get points this week. And Maggie is still sitting right there in 8th place. How did she do in this episode? She also only got 3 episode points. So, and 2 of those were for... Oh, I don't even know what those 2 were for. She got a bonus point because somebody made fire, I think. Anyway, so we go to a little bit of Sele. Yul is flabbergasted by Wendell's actions at Tribal Council the night before. There's a really awkward Michelle and Wendell fight where he tries to apologize, but it isn't really so much as an apology as I don't know what to call it, but then Yul and Michelle talk, and there's a like, man, Wendell's out of control. We gotta maybe get rid of him, but Yul thinks, how can we can maybe get his fire tokens if we play this right, etc. And so his planning and all that, it kind of rubs everybody the wrong way. That he's getting it. It's only 4 people. It doesn't have to be complicated, and yeah. But we find out that Michelle had given one of the fire tokens that she could receive from Parvati to Wendell as like a gesture of good faith. So I'm gonna do my fire token transaction chart after I recap the episode and update everything that's going on here, because another opportunity for transactions or changes in token totals takes place here on Edge of Extinction. So the next morning, Ethan he's really wondering if it's a good idea for him to be out there. Maybe this is not good for his health to be putting his body through this, and Parvati is very encouraging to him and all that. So but Ethan grabs a box that's at the base where the flag is, where the sails can go up or whatever, and it says they must open together. Everybody gets the same scroll, different everybody's their own copy of the scroll, and it says go to where the trails end, and you'll find the fire tokens there. There's 4 fire tokens at the top of the island in these 4 different locations where the trails end. And Rob just takes off. Everybody else is like scrambling, and Tyson is like, this is a classic tortoise and the hare situation. Tyson says, Boston Rob, he's gonna run out of energy. I can take my time, and I'll get a bunch of them. So Tyson, we see he finds 1 fire token, and then everybody else is like, oh, what does it look like? What does it look like? They're trying to figure out all this information from him. He's like, yeah, it looks like this. It was just sitting on the ground, whatever. And nobody else admits to having found any. As it turns out, Boston Rob found all of the other 3. Like I said, classic tortoise and the hare. The tortoise went right to it, didn't dilly-dally, even though he may have technically been slower than Tyson could have been if Tyson was going as fast as possible. He just stuck to it. He's driven, and he got 3 of the 4 fire tokens from Edge of Extinction. So that creates another 4 that weren't previously in the game. So I think the total might be 26. I should do the total on the board, but I haven't done that yet. I can add it up once we get to that point. We spend some time at Dakal, where everybody's making fun of Tony running down the beach. Jeremy is just cracking up because he runs like an old man. Kim is nervous about the merge, but Denise and who's the other one on their tribe? It's Denise and and Jeremy. Yeah, I was just talking about Jeremy. Denise and Jeremy, they're solid with Kim. They want to get rid of Tony because Tony's been playing it up. Oh, Denise is a huge target now because she got rid of Sandra. So that's great news and all that kind of stuff. He's being like way too confident about that. And he's making himself that bigger target. Then over on Yara, it's peanut butter jelly time as Ben sings, and Adam is getting really annoyed by Ben. There's only 4 people on each tribe. Everybody's seems like they're getting annoyed with everybody else. It's really time for the merge. It is happening next episode. Spoilers, jumping ahead. The merge happens next episode. That's going to be a huge relief for a lot of people, but also probably the opposite for others. So Ben is interrogating Adam about having an idol because Ben thinks that he has one, or just asks him if he has one, and Adam is like, what are you doing? You're interrogating me, getting all annoyed. And then Adam seems convinced because of that either Ben or Sarah have the idol, which neither of them do, because Sophie has it. Sarah knows that Sophie has it. Maybe that's the vibe that Adam is picking up on, but he does not suspect Sophie at all. And I have to admit that Sophie is growing on me even more. Like through this episode, like her, if I was in that position, I would be so bad at lying about having a really good thing. Like I could maybe last like 5 minutes before like, no, I found it. It's awesome. Or something. Like I would not be able to keep a straight face at all. Probably. Maybe. I don't know. So anyway, we go to the immunity challenge. 2 tribes could win, so only 1 tribe would go to tribal council this time around. They had to use a big giant water disc, a big coaster, a big saucer, that's what they called it, made of wood that it takes all 4 of them to carry it. Man, this challenge would have been really hard if one of these tribes only had 3 people on it. Because then all the tribes would have to have only 3 people doing it. So it's still been equal, but it would have been it would have been a lot harder. Maybe they would have maybe they had like half-sized ones that weren't as thick, that weren't quite as heavy. But I'm not sure. Maybe it's part of the rules, but I would have thought that just rolling it back when it didn't have water in it would have been faster and more efficient and less taxing. But it might have been in the rules that they had to carry it, but they couldn't do that when it was empty. But anyhow, the 3 tribes doing this water, they had to fill up the saucer and transport it across an obstacle course, and then fill up a well that would then rise up a little flag that once it got to the top, it would trigger a thing that would let down the pieces for the puzzle that then they then had to assemble in the circle of the saucer. This challenge happened at least once before, and it was in Nick's season, and in his season his tribe lost, or his team, however it was worked. I don't remember it specifically. They just mentioned that it happened before for him, that he lost this challenge. So a lot of pressure on Nick for this challenge to go well. Also early on, Michelle just face plants on these concurrent balancing beams, or these parallel that's not concurrent. They're next to each other. That's what I'm trying to say. Of 3 different heights. She just falls flat forward. It looked super painful, but she was laughing about it, and she seemed okay. And there was no mention of any kind of injury after that. But man, when they're putting these together, so Sophie and Ben are assembling the Yara's puzzle, and they just tear through it. They do awesome. They also get a huge head start on everybody because they just take their time. They fill their saucer all the way up to the top, which makes it a lot more difficult to transport, but they took their time, and they had like exactly enough to fill up their well in just one trip, and that really paid off. It could have been a disaster if they had spilled, but they didn't, and they rocked the puzzle, and I was really happy about that because I'm really rooting for Sarah because she's my pick to win at the end in the Fantasy Survivor deal. So anyway, then it came down to Dakal and Sele, and it was so close, but it really seemed, and it seemed that they thought this as well, that the difference was that Wendell kept trying to kind of like trash talk a little bit. Not really trash talk, but like he was like gloating to get Jeff's attention to come over and look. And he's like, "Oh, we're really close. You got to come over here, Jeff." Or he calls him Probst. And that may have cost them because they were so close. They maybe only needed less than a minute they had the last 2 pieces like in. They just need to be like pushed down into the slot. But Dakal, Jeremy and Denise are doing the puzzle for them. They got second place. And so there we go with Sele heading to Tribal Council. So there's a lot of talk. I mean, there's only the four of them anyway, but Yul really thought that Wendell dug his own grave with all the trash talk, not focusing. Nick is really mad about that as well. And they agree, okay, we're going to tell Wendell that it's Michelle, but really the plan is to vote for Wendell. But then Yul has this big plan. Oh, he didn't come up with this plan until here, not earlier when I was talking about it. But I didn't really follow what it was. I think they were going to split the vote or something. That Michelle was going to vote for Yul, along with along with Wendell, and then that would make him think that Michelle was still with him. And so when he gets voted out, that he would leave his fire tokens to Michelle, and so she would still get the tokens, and she would get the one that she gave him back, etc. But it didn't really work out like that. So we had to tribal. We had it to tribal. Yult has this. I did not follow this part at all either. That Yul is talking about the fire tokens being a whole different aspect of the game and all of that, and as it turned, like that didn't play into anything at all for this vote. Wendell continues to say he wants to work with anyone that because anyone that it will be helpful to me. And then Nick pitches like, oh, if you vote me off, then I can join you guys for I can just get right back into the game from Edge of Extinction and help you guys out, and it'll be fine. And I still want to work with you guys or whatever. So that was an interesting pitch. Wendell was like, no, I don't want to get voted off. So we get to the votes. 3 votes for Yul, 1 vote for Wendell. Yul is the 9th. Yes, the 9th person to head to Edge of Extinction. He gives his 2 tokens. I guess I just didn't even think of this, that they could leave them to multiple people. They didn't have to give them all to one person. He gives 1 token to Sarah and one token to Sophie. So I thought that was pretty cool because I'm rooting for Sarah, and I'm also kind of rooting for Sophie now too because I think these 2 will be in the final 4 at the very least together. But that could all change at the merge. Sarah could totally betray Sophie because Sarah has something that Sophie doesn't know about, whereas Sophie doesn't have anything that Sarah doesn't know about yet. So we'll see how that goes because the merge is the next episode. And Yul is the last of the old schoolers to join Edge of Extinction. And Natalie is still the only one who is not an old schooler who's stuck out there with them, and she's been there longer than all of them, and she's going to be the one that gets back in the game probably. But if they do have 2 chances to get back in the game, I think it'll be Natalie, and then hopefully, well, either Yul or Tyson, because they're on my fantasy tribe, and they can get more points if they're in the game. As of now, I'll only get 2 points from them each episode. They're like handicap points because they're not in the game currently. So there you go. That's the full recap. So now let's take a look. If you're watching this on YouTube, well, you can see what's going on here. But if you're just listening to this episode and want to see the graphics, I'm going to say everything that's on the screen. But if it helps to see it visually, I will have go check out the video on youtube.com/todayiwatched. Okay, so these are the transactions that took place in this episode. We had Michelle give 1 fire token to Wendell. Did I completely... Oh, I think... Is that how you spell Wendell? It looks weird in all caps. I might have... Excuse me. I might have completely misspelled that. But then we have 1 fire token found by Tyson, 3 found by Rob, and then 1 given from Yul to Sarah, and 1 from Yul to Sophie. So the updated tally here is on Cele, we only have 3 tribe members left. Michelle has 3. Nick has 2. Oh no. What happened? There we go. I thought that I had it must have reset the settings or something. I don't know. My camera timed out. That it didn't want to stay on anymore. Okay. So Michelle has 3, Nick has 2, and Wendell has 2. Then over on Dakal, we have 4 tribe members still. Denise has 1, Jeremy has 1, Kim has 1, and Tony has 1. These are all the original tokens that they had. No, yeah, that's right. Denise is not her original. She bought something, I think, right? I'm not sure. I might have that wrong. And then fire tokens for Yara. Adam has 1, Ben has 1, Sarah has 1, and Sophie has 2. Sarah, having bought, she spent her original fire token to buy her advantage, and let's look at the advantage chart first. So she has that steal a vote that she bought like in episode 1 or 2. Jeremy has a safety without power. Sophie has an idol. Oh, I forgot Jeremy had that. That could have played into my voting for this week. But Sophie has an idol and Kim has an idol. And Parvati possibly still has an idol nullifier. That has not been mentioned since she was voted off. And then over on Edge of Extinction, Natalie still has the most at 4. Amber, Danny, and Ethan all have 1 that they got from the logs. One of Natalie's is also from that. Tyson has 1 that he found on this episode, and he has peanut butter that he bought with the other. And then Rob has 3. So I guess that 1 that he spent on peanut butter was replaced by one of these 4. But yeah, so I think the net total might be 25 fire tokens now. Let's see. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. That doesn't seem right. That might be right. But anyway, so there we go. That's all of the advantages and fire tokens. I think that's accurate at this moment going into episode 8, where the merge will occur. I'm really excited for that. That's always such a fun episode. Just like Tribe Swap episodes, you get to see people who haven't interacted yet do so, people who haven't been together for a while do so, and it's all new school players still in the game. And also with the merge with the Edge of Extinction, I think that means we're getting a challenge for the Edge of Extinctioners to get back into the game. So I'm really excited for all of that. And of course, both of my tribe members for my fantasy team are now on Edge of Extinction, so I'm rooting for one of them to get back in. But other than that, my full excitement and winning energy is going towards Sarah, since I did pick her to win the game in the end. So, yeah, I think that's all for this episode. Let me know what you thought about this episode. Who are you rooting for? Did you change your mind? I didn't change my mind about anybody in this episode, except for maybe Wendell. I maybe don't like him as much, but I didn't change how much I'm rooting for him because of it, because I'm rooting for all of them to lose except for Sarah anyway, so that doesn't even matter. So yeah, let me know what you thought, who you're rooting for now, if that's changed, and what you're excited to see happen at the merge and beyond, by tweeting me at TIW Podcast. Go to TIWpodcast.com for more reviews. If you enjoyed this episode or anything else on the site, please share some links with your friends. Subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, wherever you like to listen. Stay safe, healthy, and happy out there in all of the infinite multiverses, and I'll see you next time here on TIW Podcast. Bye.